Hello, welcome back. This is Charlie. I am still working on this album for Scrap and Create. It is featuring the Sir Vagabond in Fantasy World, and we are working on our page 3. And before we get started, I need to kind of take some pressure off of myself. So if you're bear with me. If you've been following me on my videos, you've kind of bared witness to several times where I've questioned my measurements, and I finally found out what the problem was, and it wasn't me after all. I have two different trimmers. I have a paper trimmer, and I have one of those big rotary trimmers. And I cut my cardstock off the rotary trimmer because I don't want to ruin the blades on my paper trimmer. But I discovered that the big rotary trimmer that I purchased, that the measurements are off by 1/8 of an inch. I measured to my paper trimmer, I measured to my ruler, two different rulers by two different companies, and a paper trimmer, and it all came out to the same measurement until I got to my big rotary trimmer, and I was off by 1/8 of an inch. So I'm taking the pressure off. I'm not crazy. I do know how to cut. I'm a little frustrated because I spent quite a bit of money on this big rotary trimmer, and I think I'm going to reach out to the company and see if I can't return it. Because as a paper crafter, you shouldn't have to be second guessing your measurements, and when you're working with 1/8 of an inch, and that's how much it's off, it's critical when you're putting an album together. So anyway, the pressure's off. I now understand what's been going on for the last several album builds, actually. Okay, so we are going to be playing with the 12 by 12 piece of paper that has these images. You're going to have Strange Travels on one side, and you're going to have the train on the other side. I would like for you to cut these after we do the cardstock, because you're going to cut this half and then you're going to cut off the bottom, and then I want you to kind of strategize so that the train will be the focal point. I don't want you cutting clear across the bottom, so hold off on that. We will have a pocket in here. The pocket will actually have 2 sleeves that will come out. But for now, I want to get kind of in to the middle of this, where all things are happening. I started getting smart, too, about putting a little dab of tape on the backs of these things so that they match up in the future, too. Okay, this piece of paper, I want you to find this 12 by 12 sheet, and you are going to cut this. This is your base piece. You are going to cut it at 8.5 inches wide. And then you are going to cut it by 9 5/8 tall. I'm inking with black soot, Tim Holtz Black Soot Distress ink. And you can tell I love my ink pad because it's can't hardly read the label on it anymore. Let's work with your left side panel first because it is the smallest panel that we're going to work with. So we're going to work with the left side. You have 3 of these cards. Go ahead and cut them and trim them. And then, unfortunately, you're going to have to trim to fit, because when you trim these little edges that they have on here, they're not all equal. So it's real difficult to give you a firm measurement, so you may find that you're going to have to cut to fit. But what I have is a piece that measures 4 1/4 inches, scoring at 1/2 inch by 5 3/4 inch. You're going to want 2 of those because you're going to have 1 for each side. Now, I'm backing these. You don't have to, but I am. I will tell you that on this piece here, on this card that's going to go here on the right-hand side, you have a piece in your stash that has this pattern that should be about a 12-inch length. Use, if you're gonna match them up, use the same paper on the both sides. I ended up, unfortunately, cutting a piece off the bottom of this, so I'm having to use this as my back page. But it adds character, so I'm not too concerned about mine. So these are gonna fit in here just like so. And then you're gonna have the big cards, and it's the same situation where the trim is not all equal. So cut them out, and then you're gonna end up cutting to fit. You're gonna need 2, and what I have is it measures by 6 3/8, scoring at 1/2 and scoring at 5/8. And it is at 5 5/8 in the height. You're gonna want 2 of those. And they're gonna fit in like so. Okay? Now I have not backed these because I am not gonna waste an entire sheet of 12 by 12 to cover these. I will wait and see what I have at the end, and then I will probably come back and cover these. I may end up doing a patch job where I merge 2 pieces to cover these, because keep in mind, the intent is this is where a photo is gonna go. So if there's a seam somewhere in here, merging 2 pieces, it's irrelevant because the picture's gonna cover 90+% of it. So that's what my intentions are, is I will come back afterward when I'm done to see how much paper I have left. Now, this piece here, and it's funny because what I did, keep them all straight, I've taped everything together with a little dab of tape. Okay, this piece is going to measure 5 7/8. You're gonna score it at 1/2, and you're gonna score it at 3/4. And the height is the same as your base piece, which is 9 5/8. Now, and this is where you're gonna put a magnet on this side, so get your magnets out. This piece here, this 12 by 12 here, I want you to cut this at 5 inches. And then from the top down, you're gonna cut it at 9 1/2 inches so that it fits right in here. And you may end up having to trim it a little bit, but it's pretty much going to be a cut to fit if my measurements are exactly. And then I fussy cut this out. I wanted to pop it up, pull it up off the page, and it will slip right back in here. I almost fussy cut this whole piece out, but I thought that's just too much. I'm just going to go ahead and fussy cut Strange Travels out and pop it up and bring it up off the page. I'm not doing anything with this side. So if you want to go ahead, now on this piece, I was going to say if you want to go ahead and start cutting, wait a minute until I get this off of here. So this one I want you to cut from the bottom up. You're going to cut it at, so I'm going to turn this way. So you're looking at it from the bottom up. You're going to cut it at 9 1/2 inches tall. And then this piece, I ended up cutting it right at 7 inches. And again, when you go to place this on this flap, you are going to probably have to trim it just a smidgen to get it in there. Let's just double check, make sure I gave you the measurements on this guy. This is at 8 inches, scoring it at 1/2, and you're scoring it at 3/4, and it's still the same height. Okay. Now, this is where our pocket page is going to go. So you're going to want to cut a piece that is going to measure at 10 5/8. You're going to score it at 1/2 inch on each end. And I cut this piece right at 7 1/8. And I'm thinking that that might be Let me just double check, because you're going to come right up to that. There's a score line here. It's your 3/4 inch score line. You're going to come right up to that, and you should be flush with the edge. So that measurement that I just gave you is correct. It's going to be 7 1/8. All right. So now I've taken these all off, and I'm going to get myself all discombobulated. Okay. Turn this back upside down. This is going to go this way. All right. So let's go ahead, and I like to work from the bottom up so that all of our layering matches. This is going to be a pocket over here, and this is going to be a pocket under here. So let's get this all going over here. All right, these that have a 1/2 inch score line are going to be the first layer. And then these that have the 1/8 of an inch gusset will be your second layer. And before I start layering, I want to get my big pocket in. So I found a scrap piece that I really kind of liked. I like the butterfly, the gears, the world, and then the castle elements here. So I am going to put that on here, and I found a piece of black cardstock that fit it, so all I had to do was cut the length off. So find the pieces that you like the best. I would hope that you're staying pattern with what I'm using and you're trimming to that, so that we are all hopefully playing with all the same elements. So I am going to get started with putting the tape on this and getting that attached. God, I feel so much better about knowing I wasn't off all this time, that it wasn't me personally. I am going to reach out to the company. It's too much to spend to have the darn thing off by 1/8 of an inch. Okay. So I'm going to start down here at the corner that I can see, and I'm going to watch as I line it up. I might be just a little bit too long. See, that's where that measurement kept coming in. I'm probably going to have to deal with that a little bit. So bear with me while I get over here on this and trim it off. Okay, now I might have to recut this because of that. I caught all the other measurements. Yeah, I'm going to have to recut this. Okay, so let's see here. So I'm going to cut to fit pretty much. Make sure it's in here the way it's supposed to be. And I need to re-ink. Okay, so now we're going to glue my little token of tape. Okay. Now when you're dealing with the scraps, your eye and your color coordination is going to be completely different than mine. So line up, match up what works best for you. You're going to look at something and go, why did she do that? So just whatever works best for you, seriously. Okay, now that is layer 1. Here is layer 2, so I'm going to take these off and set them aside. Whoops, that wants to actually tear out of there. Come on. And I'm going to put tape on this. Now I'm just going to eyeball the center. I'm not going to try and get fancy here. I just want to kind of see where I end up placing it in at. And then just simply out of curiosity. So it looks like I'm about 1 7/8. Maybe I do need to measure. Eyeballing this thing. So I'm at 1 3/4 there. Oh, I'm too top heavy. I don't want it out of balance by that much. Okay, so 1 7/8. And I'm at 2, so I'm just a fraction. I'm just going to move it just a smidge. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my glue to this flap. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue in my piece. I really don't care if they match or not. Like I said, it creates character if they don't match. Okay, so let's add our layer here to the to the right side. We're going to do the same thing. Okay, hold on just a second. I have to put my fingertip on. I have to protect my fingertips. They're so dry. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit easier because I can kind of match these up. Well, there we go. And then I need to erase this because I made a kind of a note to myself about this piece. Wanted to share that with you. Then we're going to glue this piece in. You can use whichever of these cards you want. I just simply chose a couple of them so that they would act as photo mats or journaling pieces. Because I made photo cards out of the other set. Okay. Now, I'm working on this side now, so I'm going to take, which is the left side. And I think we might, I think these are going to overlap, so I think we might add a little tiny magnets to hold these down a little bit on the inside. So we'll see here in a sec. So if you've got some small magnets, you might want to dig them out. Okay, so these will cover. Now the reason I want to stop here. I want to explain something. The reason I have you cut, you're going to score at a half and then you're going to score at 5/8, because you're creating a small little gusset, if you see that. And that's what's going to fold over everything you've already put on here, so that you don't have a lumpy page and that it folds over quite nicely. So that's the reason for that small little gusset. So let's turn this over. And because they're roughly the same height, I'm just simply going to line them up. And you're going to match up to the 1/2 inch score line, not the 5/8, but the 1/2 inch score line, and you're going to fold it over. And then that way, that gusset, you're going to push back. You're going to rescore on that gusset so that it stands up and it does what it's supposed to do. And I do believe we're going to have, let's get the other one in first. And then I think we're going to place a small magnet to keep the pages down. I think you can see it probably better here. You've got the 1/2 inch score line, you get the 5 inch score line. I am coming up to that 1/2 inch score line. And then I'm just folding it over. Push back and kind of reinforce that score again. Okay, so I am going to add a couple of small magnets here on the underside, just so that it kind of encourages these pages here to lay flat. Make sure they're squared up, and then just give it a slide so they'll come off. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this one on. I won't be covering this piece, but by putting this card panel down, I'll prevent this magnet from detaching. Eyeballing it here, get it centered. Oh, I meant to tape that too. I always prefer to tape where my magnets are, but too late, I'm not taking it up. Okay. And then this side, even though I love that griffin, I had so much fun playing with him on the front. And then lay this in there. Okay. Nicely done. All right, I wanna lay the right side first. There's a little bit more to it. Oops, trying to drop things. But I want to lay it first. I'm going to get my card panels out of the way. I'm going to separate my papers. Okay, so this piece I already gave you the measurement for. It came in at 10 and 5/8. You scored it at 1/2 on each end. And now we're going to add the tape. And I'm going to add it to, you know what I want to do first? I'm hesitating, I apologize. I want to start trimming these corners. I have not been, and I think it would make it easier. When I go to insert the pull-out cards. It's funny. When you tape at an angle, you have a tapered end. So I'm just going to turn it over. Now this pocket is quite big. But I wanted to save that engine. So you're going to have a big pocket here. The panels that we're going to make are not going to be this wide. The two pull-out panels are extra black cardstock that I'm using so that it doesn't go to waste. So I'm making 2. But in the end, when you're done, if you want to wait and do those last, then you can cut your black cardstock to actually fit this if you choose to. Does that make sense? Hope so. Okay, I'm going to line this up. It's important to me that... Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I pulled that right into my face because I needed to see, and I pulled it right off camera. I apologize. I'm so bad about that. Okay. And I just goofed. I didn't seal this, but I'll take a little strip of glue, glue. With as big as the pocket is, I don't care whether there's glue in here. But I do want to seal this. Glue spreads, I like to use tape because of the glue spreads. But with this being as big as it is, I don't think it's going to matter. Okay, so there is our pocket. I'm going to go now, I'm going to add the tape here. Now on this one, that big 3/4 inch gusset, that 1/4 inch gusset, yeah, you got a 3/4 inch gusset. That 1/4 inch gusset that you've made is now going to absorb everything you've already built on this right side. Now you're going to put this on differently this time. You're going to come up to the 1/4 inch mark. Instead of the 1/2 inch score line, you're going to come up to the 3/4 inch score line, so that when you fold this over, it is taking up all the buildup. And if I did not lay that straight, Dad blast me. Hold on here, Two Shakes. I saw it right at the 11th hour, and I don't trust that I can get that up without tearing something. So I'll just get, there we go. Okay, so let's try this again without goofing it up here. I'm not quite sure why it's giving me such a pickle here. What in the world? I apologize. Hold on here. I think I've got this is what's interfering. It's pushed out too much, so we're gonna do it this way. I'm gonna come in here. It's probably the easiest way to do it, actually. Line up with this 1/2 inch score line all the way down. That puts this buildup that's giving me a double. That puts this buildup inside this gusset. And then that way, it now lays over nice and easy. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's put the next panel on. There won't be quite as big of a buildup because we don't have that big pocket. I am just getting over really bad spring allergy. My gosh, I have not had it so bad. Contemplating getting those annual shots for it, but we'll see. We'll see. Trying to line this up here so that it goes in the way it's supposed to. Is it gonna work, or am I gonna have to do what? No, golly gee willikers. Oh, Mike, do you think I'd learn? I'll tell you, this is... Okay, so don't do as I did. It's easier to do it this way. I'm not gonna fight it. There we go. All right, now make sure that when you bring these two pages together, because you're going to add your magnet, that the two halves line up across the bottom and the top, and that your gusset walls are standing up the way they're supposed to. Okay. Now I did a little slide to separate those so that I could put this piece on. Now it's huge and I've got a magnet, so I am going to be taping down this piece. I would never get it done in time before the glue dried out. Come on. Okay, and then I'm going to run one right down the center so that it prevents that popping up and down from an unsecure piece of paper. Okay, I'm going to center it in here. Almost done. Now I'm going to turn this over, and we're going to add this piece in. And I'm still going to tape it because it's still a big piece. That tape wanted to make itself home there in the middle of a lot of cardstock. Okay, I want to make sure it's right side up before I put it down on here. Okay. You know, these are what this, I gotta pull it up. This is one of those sheets that I pre-cut that was off an 1/8 because of the other trimmer, so I need to take this up. So hold on, I apologize, but I do need to trim this. I'm glad I didn't get all of it down. See how this see how this is going to measure up now. Center up in here. And I think you notice that what I'm watching here is this score line. I don't want to get my paper on it or in it because then the gusset won't function correctly because you've got something stuffed in it. All right, now on this side, let me see where to go. I have a piece of black cardstock that you are basically going to cut to fit here. And when you lay it down, you're going to lay it from this edge going this way because you do not want it to come on top of that gusset mark. But just keep in mind that it's 7 1/8, which is what this is here. And then I made it, what is this, 2 5/8 tall on the pocket. Pocket depth is your choice. I chose that choice because I wanted this piece. I like this right here. It blended with this and added some good color. Starting in this corner, I'm going to make sure it's flush with this corner, this edge, and the bottom edge. And then when I lay it down, this should be right up next to this, but not on it or in it. All right, so now we're going to glue this piece down. Again, it's just a piece of scrap paper. You find what you like. I'll let you know if there's a specific piece that you need to use, but otherwise it's just to your taste. Now, I cut these all out using some die cuts that I have, some metal dies, through my die cutting machine, and I'm picking the Griffin, and I'm going to put him right here. So I can make him into a tuck, but I'm going to have to pull the tape up here quite a bit, because if I only use this base, this thing's going to start to really give and bow with some weight behind it. So I'm going to come up just a little bit around so that it's on there pretty squarely. Okay, so I want to start, you know what I could do, I think, is just go straight across. That would work just as well. And then I'll glue the base, the rest of it. I just didn't want to glue it because, like I said earlier, glue spreads. And I don't want it spreading where I want to be able to tuck something. And I can't, sometimes I struggle with where to draw my glue line and then it spreads up too far, so I'll put the tape on and then put it on down. And now we have a nice sturdy tuck, beautiful sturdy tuck, and in the pocket. All right, now we're going to come over here to this inside panel, and this is the piece that hopefully you're using because it is the other 12 by 12 half of this, okay? You can make this into an 8x8 if you do not like dealing with big albums. You're just going to need to make accommodations for all the measurements. Now, do I have to trim this one a bit? I do. Hold on. Okay, so I think I'd be okay now. All right, now the front. Okay, so hopefully you've got this all cut out and ready to go so that when you put this in here and you mounted it on something a little bit sturdy, I'm using a real thin, it's a cross between kind of chipboard, a cereal box, and cardstock. So it's just a real thin layer of a chipboard type material that I got at Hobby Lobby, but I don't think they have any more of it. But anyway, it gives it a little sturdiness, and then the pop-ups, and then place that right in there. So I'm gonna start with the glue around the edge, and then I'm gonna glue the rest of this just about as fast as I can because it dries so quickly. But I want this sealed right here really well because I don't want that center popping up into the pop-up. Okay, now lay it down real quick. Glue's drying. Okay, so now I'm going to peel all these little boogers off. They're Jiminy's. You know what? I ran into this on another set of pop-ups where the tape, the backing, was just terrible to get off. I don't understand what it is I'm doing wrong. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to mess with this. Sorry. I am just not going to sit here. You're going to watch me. You're going to watch me tear these off and throw kind of a tantrum in a way. But I'm not dealing with this. I threw another bunch away because you can't get the backing off of them. And I think I'm just going to use, this is a lightweight black chipboard. That if I put two pieces together, okay. I will not be using those again. There is a brand that I want black pop-ups in, but they are out of stock. They are the best, and I have to just be patient, I guess, and wait for them to come back in stock. Now I want this even, so I'm just trimming it a little bit more. Okay, that'll work. Just put that right in the center. And then it should just pop right where it cut out at. Okay. Perfect. What worked? All right, let's go ahead and get our tape and mount this. I want the big 5/8 inch tape. Okay, go ahead and frame in your signature. We'll go mount it in the album here in 2 shakes. I frame it in on all 4 sides. And then I run 3 down the middle using 3/8 inch tape. Oh, hold on here just a minute. I almost forgot. I cannot forget. Just a sec. Okay, in the kit that I got from Scrap and Create was this little gold bag of trinkets. And on the pullouts for this pocket, I went to my scraps and I found some paper that I'm going to use to make a 1/2 inch edge here. I'm choosing what looks to be Lady Liberty, or the Statue of Liberty, and the sun. So I'm going to put this on here like so, with a strip of tape. And I'm going to mush that down in there really good. As I know that's not a word, but I want to flatten that string out. Trim off the rest. Peel that off. And then I'm going to run tape. And I don't have, I should have used just 1/2 inch tape, but I don't have 1/2 inch tape. So I'm just going to run a bead of glue along this edge right here. to start here, just kind of in the edge, follow it all the way up. Make sure that's good and secure. Fix that kind of thing. I'm putting all of that down. All right, so there's one. And the little trinket will help to keep it from disappearing all the way inside. And then here's the other one. And I cut him just a little bit shorter. So his string isn't quite as long. I wanted the other element to be a little bit longer than this one, is what I'm trying to say. Now, where's my 1/2-inch tape? I know I had some here. Here we go. I'm going to come in just a hair off. It's sticking to me off the edge. There we go. And then the other side I'll glue on. Okay, so you have two cards you can pull, and you'll be able to grab each one of those little trinkets. This closes, and then we're going to go ahead and put this in the album. I'm setting up for my layouts for my next couple of pages. So I'm going to start with the center, place it in. I'm going to pull these out. And when I place this in here, I'm going to take this edge, this gusset, and I'm going to line it right up with this edge. And then I'm going to center it, make sure that the gusset is standing really tall, press it down, and then I'm going to take out the 3 on the edges, the 4 on the edges. But I have to repair some gusset work over here. It wants to fold in on me, so I'm going to do that off camera. But when you put this on there, when we cut that base page, there was approximately 1/4 of an inch to 3/8 of an inch that we cut short on this side. I do not want you bringing the signature all the way to this gusset here. I want you to stay to the edge. That way, when this closes, that page has something somewhere to close in on, because that gap is going to eat up this gap, okay? So I'll go fix my page off camera, but thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.